I used to think my dad was invincible. To me, he was more than just a father, he was a superhero. The kind of dad who showed up to every little league game, who taught me how to ride a bike in the parking lot behind our apartment, who let me fall asleep on the couch while we watched old movies I didn't understand but pretended to love because he loved them. He had that kind of voice that made people quiet down when he entered a room. Calm, steady, always in control. He was the guy who could fix anything, from broken toys to broken sinks. I remember watching him with awe, thinking, when I grow up, I want to be just like him. We'd have Saturday mornings just for us, he called it our dad-son time. We'd get pancakes, go to the park, maybe visit the hardware store where he'd pretend to need my help picking out screws. I didn't care what we did. I just liked being with him, and I wasn't the only one who thought he was amazing. My friends loved him. My teachers said he was such a present father. Strangers would smile when they saw how he'd carry me on his shoulders at the county fair or kneel down to tie my shoes when they came undone. He made everything feel safe, but even then, even in all those perfect memories, something was off. I just didn't see it. My mom, she smiled a lot, but it was a tired kind of smile. The kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. I remember she used to stand at the kitchen sink, washing dishes while looking out the window like she was somewhere else in her mind. Whenever Dad walked into the room, she'd stiffen slightly. Just for a second. But as a kid, I brushed it off. I thought maybe she was stressed. Adults had stress, right? That's what I told myself. Looking back, I wonder how many signs were right in front of me. I remember this one night. I must have been around 9 or 10. I was supposed to be asleep, but I crept down the stairs to get a glass of water. That's when I heard them arguing in the living room. Not yelling, but low voices. Tense. Sharp. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught one sentence my mom said. Just one. She whispered, "Do you think he won't notice forever?" I never found out what she meant. Not back then. The next morning, everything was normal. Pancakes. Laughter. Dad helping me with my science project like nothing had happened. That was how it always was. Sunshine on the outside. Shadows under the surface, and me? I was just a kid, basking in the warmth of a man I thought would never lie to me, but the cracks were already there. I just didn't know it yet. I think the first real crack showed up the summer I turned 11. It was the 4th of July, and we were supposed to go to the lake, me, Mom, and Dad. That was tradition. We'd pack sandwiches, sparklers, and this ancient radio that only played static unless you hit it a few times. It was one of the only days Dad didn't work, and he'd always say, "Family first today, no exceptions." But that year, he didn't come. He called that morning and said something had come up. Work emergency, he told Mom over the phone. I remember watching her face tighten. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just nodded silently, then hung up and told me we'd still go, just the two of us. We sat on the blanket by the water, watching the fireworks crack the sky, but it wasn't the same. I kept waiting for him to show up. Any minute. I thought maybe he was going to surprise us. But he never came. That night, I asked her, "Do you think Dad had to save someone? Like, at his job?" She looked at me for a long time, then said, "Maybe, honey. But some things aren't ours to save." At the time, I didn't understand what she meant. But that sentence would haunt me later. After that, little things started to change. He stopped showing up for Dad-son Saturdays. First, once a month, then every other, then not at all. There was always a reason: deadlines, meetings, flat tires. He still smiled, still hugged me when he came home, still asked about school. But the warmth started to feel thinner. Like a jacket that doesn't keep you warm anymore, but you wear it anyway because you're used to it. One night I heard another argument. This one was louder. I was in my room playing video games when I heard my mom's voice rise through the floorboards. "I'm not stupid, David. Don't you dare insult me like that again." His reply was quieter, almost calm, but cold. Too calm. After a few minutes, the house went silent. I stayed in my room, pretending I hadn't heard anything. The next morning, my dad left early. My mom didn't say a word during breakfast. That same week, she started going to bed earlier. I'd find her curled up on the couch sometimes, the TV on, her eyes red. I'd ask if she was okay, and she'd always say, "Just tired, sweetheart." But tired looked different now, and me? I kept pretending everything was fine. I'd tell my friends how awesome my dad was, how he was busy because he was important. That's what I believed. Or maybe that's just what I wanted to believe. Looking back, I can't pinpoint the exact moment when admiration turned into confusion. When the man I used to run to became the man I hesitated to hug, but it was happening slowly, quietly, like paint peeling off the walls of a home you once thought was perfect. I was 14 the day I stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. It was a Saturday. Mom was working a double shift, and Dad was taking me to baseball practice. Just the two of us, like old times. I wanted to believe things were getting better, that maybe we were climbing out of that weird fog our family had been stuck in. We stopped at a gas station on the way. While he went inside, I realized I'd forgotten my glove. I figured it might be in the trunk, where we usually kept sports stuff, but when I popped it open, I didn't find my glove. I found a red scarf. Expensive looking. Still in a gift bag from a boutique downtown. A silver bracelet with the name Lena engraved on the inside. A bottle of perfume I'd never seen in our house before, definitely not Mom's scent, and a handwritten note tucked inside the bag. It said, "Last night was perfect. I wish we didn't have to sneak around. Love you always." I froze. I just stood there, staring into the trunk like it might rearrange itself if I waited long enough. I slammed it shut just as he came back with sodas. He smiled like nothing was wrong. "You ready, champ?" I nodded. But something in me had gone numb. Practice, I missed every ball. I barely spoke on the drive home. He noticed. "You all right?" "Just tired," I said. I had learned that answer from Mom. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed thinking about Lena, whoever she was. About the perfume. The bracelet. The lies. I wanted to believe maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe the note wasn't for him. Maybe it was for someone else, but I knew better. Deep down, I knew, and still, I didn't say anything. I didn't tell Mom. I didn't confront him. I carried that truth around like a burning stone in my chest. Too heavy to hold, too dangerous to drop. He kept acting like everything was fine. Sunday dinner, lame dad jokes, fake smiles. But now, I could see the performance. The way his phone always stayed face down. The way he stepped outside to take work calls. The way Mom flinched whenever he touched her shoulder. Everything clicked. The late nights. The skipped birthdays. The forced laughter. He had another life. And we were just the cover story. I started avoiding him. Short answers, locked bedroom door, headphones in at dinner. He noticed, of course. Asked if something was wrong. Elite. Again, because what do you say to the man you once thought hung the stars? What do you say when you realize he's not your hero? He's the reason your family feels like it's slowly sinking. I didn't speak the truth that night, but something between us broke, and neither of us knew how to fix it. A few weeks later, I couldn't keep it in anymore. It was a rainy Thursday night. The kind where thunder rolls in slow, and everything feels heavier than it should. Mom was folding laundry in the living room, humming quietly to herself, her face tired but soft. I sat down across from her, heart pounding. My palms were sweating. I didn't even know how to start. So I just said it. I found something in Dad's trunk. She didn't flinch. Didn't even pause, folding the towel in her hands. What did you find? She asked gently. I told her everything. The scarf. The bracelet. The perfume. The note. She looked at me for a long moment, then let out a sigh, deep and slow, like she'd been holding it in for years. I know, she said. Point two words. I know, and just like that, my world tilted again. She told me she'd known for a long time. That the first time it happened, I was only 9. He had promised it was a mistake. That he loved us. That he'd do better, and she believed him. Or wanted to, but then it happened again. And again. Different names. Different lies. I asked her why she stayed. She folded another shirt before answering. Because you needed a father. Or at least, I thought you did. I didn't want you growing up in a broken home. Her voice cracked a little on the last words. But now I wonder, she said, if staying just taught you how to accept being hurt. I didn't know what to say. I felt betrayed, twice over. Once by him. And once by the silence that had stretched across our family like wallpaper covering a rotting wall. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was angry, but because I realized my mother, this strong, steady woman, had been carrying pain for years just to protect me, and I hadn't even seen it. School. I started zoning out. My grades slipped. Teachers asked if everything was okay at home. I lied, of course. Because that's what we did in our house. We lied to protect what little image was left. Dad still didn't know I'd told her. He kept acting like everything was fine, movie night, asking about my homework, offering to take me out for ice cream. I stopped answering most of the time. Just stared at my phone or stayed locked in my room. I wasn't ready to confront him, but I was done pretending he hadn't already burned the bridge between us. It happened by accident. I wasn't looking for proof. I wasn't stalking him. I wasn't even thinking about him that day. I was just existing. Wandering the mall with a couple of friends, eating soft pretzels, trying to forget about home, and then I saw him. My dad, holding hands with a woman who definitely wasn't my mom. They weren't trying to hide. They were laughing, walking slowly past the shoe store, her head leaning on his shoulder like they were some high school couple on a date. For a moment, my brain refused to believe it. I blinked, convinced it was someone else. But then he turned, and I saw his face. He looked relaxed. Comfortable. Like a man living a double life and not even trying that hard to keep the lines from crossing. I froze. My friends noticed, asked what was wrong, but I couldn't speak. I just walked, right up to them. Not thinking. Just moving. He saw me, and for the first time in my life, I saw panic in his eyes. Hey, buddy, he said, pulling his hand away from hers so fast you'd think it was on fire. This isn't what it looks like. I laughed. I actually laughed. I don't even know why. I looked at the woman, then back at him. Yeah? I said. Then tell me what it is. He stuttered. Said something about work, about coincidence. About it, not meaning anything. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just nodded and walked away, because what do you do when the person who taught you right from wrong breaks every rule they ever gave you? You stop playing the game. That night, I didn't eat dinner. I didn't speak a word to him when he came home. Mom knew something had happened. She asked me quietly, and I just said, I saw them. She didn't ask where. Didn't ask what they were doing. She just sat down beside me and held my hand. I think that was the moment the illusion died completely. The last spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd choose us again. That he'd come clean. That he'd try to fix it. He didn't. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. Offered to drive me to school. I told him I'd walk. He didn't protest. Just stood there by the door, watching me grab my backpack like I was a stranger in his house, and maybe I was or maybe he was. Either way, that was the last time I looked at him and still saw Dad. From then on, he was just David. Senior year. Graduation, the one day I actually wanted him there, not for the applause. Not for the pictures. Just, for him to show up. One day. One seat in the crowd. One clapping pair of hands that meant, I see you. I'm proud of you. He promised he would come. When I handed him the invite, he smiled like nothing had ever happened between us. Like we were still a team. Like I hadn't caught him lying. Like he hadn't destroyed what little family we had left. I wouldn't miss it for the world. He said. He missed it. He didn't call. He didn't text. Nothing. I stood in that auditorium in my cap and gown, scanning the crowd like a kid searching for Santa at the mall, just desperate to believe in something again. Mom was there, of course. In the front row, clutching tissues. And holding back tears. Happy for me, hurting for me. I could see it all on her face. Afterward, I checked my phone every 10 minutes. Maybe he was late. Maybe something happened. Maybe anything. By nightfall, I stopped checking. It wasn't until 2 days later that I found out where he was. A friend of mine posted pictures from a resort downstate. And there he was, my dad. Shirt off. Drink in hand. Arm around someone. Who definitely wasn't my mom, the caption read, "Weekend escape with this amazing man, 2 hearts." I showed my mom. She didn't say anything. Just nodded once and walked out of the room. I sat there for a long time. That was the last straw, not because he missed a ceremony, but because he chose someone else's celebration over mine. Because he broke a promise he made to my face, and didn't even bother to lie about it afterward. He didn't care, and that realization hit harder than anything else. He could live without me. Smile without me. Start new chapters without flipping the page on the last one. I blocked his number that night. Deleted his contact. He sent me an email a week later. Subject line, "I'm sorry." I didn't open it, because sorry doesn't matter when the damage is done, because showing up once doesn't make up for leaving 100 times, because sometimes, silence is the only way to protect yourself. Asterisk, it was my 18th birthday when he called, not a text. Not an email. A real phone call. His name flashed across the screen for the first time in months. For a second, I just stared at it, like the past was ringing and I wasn't sure if I should answer, but I did. "Hey, kid," he said. His voice hadn't changed. It still had that calm, familiar tone that once made me feel safe. But now it felt wrong. Like hearing a lullaby in the middle of a war zone. "Happy birthday." I didn't respond right away. He cleared his throat. "I know I've messed up. I know I've been distant. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you." I wanted to believe him. God, I did, but I couldn't forget everything that led to the silence. The missed moments. The lies. The version of me he didn't care to know anymore. I finally said, "Why now?" He paused. "Because you're 18. Because I don't want to lose you forever." I let out a bitter laugh. "You didn't lose me today, Dad. You lost me a long time ago. You just didn't notice." He went quiet, and then, he whispered the thing I'd waited years to hear, "I'm sorry." But it was too late. Sorry doesn't show up to birthday parties. Sorry doesn't clap at graduation. Sorry doesn't undo the nights I cried myself to sleep wondering what I did wrong. I said, "I don't hate you. But I don't trust you. And I don't want a relationship built on guilt." He begged me to reconsider. Said he could do better now. That he'd changed. I told him, "You don't get to show up when I'm finally okay without you." That was the last time we spoke. I hung up, and for the first time in years, I felt light, not happy, not healed, but free, because closure doesn't always come with hugs or neat endings. Sometimes it comes with choosing peace over connection, with choosing yourself over someone who never chose you when it mattered. Asterisk, it's been almost 3 years since that phone call. Since then, I've moved out, got a small apartment, started college. I work part-time at a bookstore and spend my weekends helping my mom fix up the old house. We don't talk about him much anymore. Not because we're angry. Just because we've made peace with the silence. Sometimes, I wonder if he still thinks about me. If he scrolls through my old photos or checks my social media to see how I'm doing. I wonder if he ever regrets it, missing everything. But then I remind myself, it's not my job to carry his guilt. I've built a life without him. One with real people. Real love. Real presence. My mom? She's stronger than I ever realized. I see it now, the quiet ways she kept us together when everything was falling apart. She didn't just raise me. She protected me from a version of the truth I wasn't ready to face, and as for me, I'm still learning. Still healing. Some nights, I replay old memories and ask myself, was any of it real? The baseball games? The bedtime stories? The Saturdays? Maybe it was. Maybe he loved me in the only way he knew how, but love without consistency is confusion. Love without truth is manipulation. And love without presence eventually just becomes absence. People ask me sometimes, "Why don't you speak to your father?" And here's what I say, because the man I once called dad only exists in memories now. Because every unanswered promise became a wall I couldn't climb. Because the apology came years too late. Because I deserve peace more than I deserve a father who didn't fight to stay, but most of all, because I learned the hard way that walking away from someone you love doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes, it's the strongest thing you'll ever do.